Opposition parties have slammed President Jacob Zuma for deploying the South African National Defence Force soldiers at this year's State of the Nation address. President Zuma has deployed the soldiers to maintain law and order during the opening of Parliament on Thursday. 441 members of the South African National Defence Force will be deployed together with South African Police Service. Condemning the move, the DA is seeking an urgent meeting with the National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete as head of the legislative arm of the state. The DA has said, and I quote, "The DA will not stand by and allow for the People's Parliament to be turned into a security state show of force meant to intimidate opposition both inside and outside of the ANC." Meanwhile, the EFF has vowed to disrupt Zuma's SONA on Thursday. The party says no amount of security or intimidation is going to stop them. I quote, "It must be seen as the declaration of war on citizens. Zuma plans to murder those he disagrees with at SONA. The military are people who get deployed for war." Well, John Steenhuisen, Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, joins us on the phone line. A very good morning to you, sir. Why is President Zuma deploying the South African National Defence Force for the SONA on Thursday?
The EFF members eventually walked out.
Institution of the South African Police Service. But we know what this is all about. This is a show of force by President Jacob Zuma against opponents within his own party, on his benches and on the opposition benches, and for civil society organizations that will be gathering outside Parliament. We have moved from having 180 odd members of the SANDF at SONA in 2015 to this year having 440. It's very clear that the security state is in full swing and that President Zuma is trying to use this to intimidate opponents. Completely unacceptable in a democratic, open precinct like the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa.
Now, we do know that it is in his full might to use the South African National Defence Force, but is it needed to use it at an event such as the SONA?
It is his right to deploy the National Defence Force, but there have to be specific conditions that he does that. This, I don't believe, warrants such a large deployment. Of course, we've always had the military involved. They are largely ceremonial. They're part of the marches. They help to line the streets. But never before have we had such a strong showing by the military. What you have is the South African Police Service, who should be maintaining law and order and doing public order policing. The South African Defence Force are not trained in public order policing. We've already seen what happens when you have a crisis with people who do not know what they're doing with public order policing. It was called Marikana. And the Farlam Commission of Inquiry showed very clearly how failures in public order policing actually lead to exacerbation of tragedy. What we can't have is a situation where an open place of debate and discussion like Parliament is militarized and securitized to the extent that the opposition and other members are intimidated. Completely unacceptable in an open and democratic society that's based on constitutional values.
And I want to ask you, the EFF has made a statement saying that they will disrupt the SONA on Thursday. Don't you think that President Zuma may just be deploying the South African National Defence Force to ensure the safety of the public and the people attending SONA?
Well, I think that what you must remember as well is the Constitution prohibits the use of the state security services in the suppression of a right which is a political right which is valid in terms of the Constitution. So the SANDF would not be able to come into the chamber under any circumstances, and our courts have ruled on that. So provided the EFF stay within the rules of Parliament and where they use points of order or the like, then in fact the SANDF cannot intervene. The Parliamentary Protection Services would have to do so. But as again I said, the South African National Defence Force role is not public order policing. It's defending borders and maintaining our integrity as a nation from outside threat and on peacekeeping missions and the like. Public order policing on a democratic space like Parliament is not their core function. And if they interfere with a political right that is legitimate in terms of the Constitution, then they run the risk of themselves opening themselves up to charge.
Well, thank you so much to Mr. John Steenhuisen, Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, that joined us there to clarify the situation. Also on the phone line, we have COPE spokesperson Dennis Bloem joining us. Mr. Bloem, can you tell us, what do you think is the reasons for President Jacob Zuma to deploy the South African National Defence Force at the SONAs on Thursday?
Well, thank you very much for having me. But that question, it's only Mr. Zuma who can answer that question. Mr. Zuma is scared of something that we don't know why is he so scared of. But we can say and we can think that Mr. Zuma and his ANC have organized a rally at the Grand Parade tomorrow evening. Now, he is bringing security forces in to protect the ANC members there. And whenever they are also going to be there in front of Parliament. Now, that is abuse of state apparatus. We are condemning that thing that what Mr. Zuma is doing. But we must also say that this type of things, it's not the first time that we see this type of things. The National Party have also done the same, but they are out of power. When a government is busy losing power, you see this type of thing. They want to rule by force, by a strong arm. It does not help. It will never help to bring 441 soldiers into Parliament and think that they will keep people at bay. No, we for one, we are never going to sit and listen to Mr. Zuma, a discredited person who the Constitutional Court have said he has broken his oath of office. We will never do that. He can be very sure that we are not going to listen to him.
Well, we do know the EFF have threatened to disrupt the SONA address on Thursday. Do you think that President Jacob Zuma might have deployed the South African National Defence Force in order to deal with the EFF if a protest is to break out?
We think that the person who is disrupting the processes of Parliament is Mr. Zuma and not the EFF. The EFF is going according to the rules of Parliament, asking that point of order and according to the rule book. Mr. Zuma must understand and accept that he is no more honorable. Now, we cannot put the blame on anybody but himself. He is disrupting the proceedings in Parliament and nobody else. When he's not there, Parliament is running very smoothly. But when he is there, there's chaos in the House.
Thank you so much to Mr. Dennis Bloemkoop, spokesperson, joining us there on the line and giving us some clarity on Mr. President.